3 stockings. However much one groaned about it beforehand, however much one hated making arrangements and doing up parcels and ordering several days' meals in advance, when it actually happened, Christmas Day was always fun. It began in the same way every year, the handle of her bedroom door being turned just loudly enough to wake her up, but softly enough not to count as waking her up on purpose. Toby glimmering like a moth in the dark doorway, clutching a knobbly Christmas stocking in one hand and holding up his pajama trousers with the other. He insisted upon pajamas, but he had not yet outgrown his sleeping suit figure. "Toby, it's only just after 6. I did say not till 7. But, Mummy, I can't tell the time." He was barefoot and shivering, and his eyes were like stars. "Come here and get warm, you little goat." He was into her bed in a flash, stocking and all. The tail of a clockwork dog scratched her shoulder. A few minutes later, another head appeared around the door, a little higher up. "Judy, darling, it's too early, honestly." "I know, but I heard Toby come in, so I knew you must be awake." "All right, you can come into bed, but you've got to keep quiet for a bit. Daddy's still asleep." And then a third head, higher up still, and Vin's voice, even deeper than it had been at long leave. "I say, are the others in here? I thought I heard them." He curled himself up on the foot of his father's bed. And by that time, of course, Clem was awake too. The old transparent stratagem had worked to perfection once more. There was nothing for it but to switch on the lights, shut the windows, and admit that Christmas Day had insidiously but definitely begun. The 3 right hands, Vin's strong and broad, Judy's thin and flexible, Toby's still a starfish, plunged in and out of the 3 distorted stockings until there was nothing left but the time-hallowed tangerine in the toe. It was curious how that tradition lingered, even nowadays when children had a good supply of fruit all the year round. Their methods were as different as their hands. Vin, with little grunts of approval, examined each object carefully as he drew it out, exploring all its possibilities before he went on to the next. Judy, talking the whole time, pulled all her treasures out in a heap, took a quick glance at them, and went straight for the one she liked best, a baby in a wicker cradle. Toby pulled all his out too, but he arranged them in a neat pattern on the eiderdown and looked at them for a long time in complete silence. Then he picked up one of them, a big glass marble with colored squirrels inside, and put it off by itself a little way. After that, he played with the other toys appreciatively enough, but from time to time his eyes would stray towards the glass marble, as though to make sure it was still waiting for him. Mrs. Miniver watched him with a mixture of delight and misgiving. It was her own favorite approach to life, but the trouble was that sometimes the marble rolled away. Judy's was safer, Vin's, on the whole, the wisest of the 3. To the banquet of real presents, which was waiting downstairs, covered with a red and white dust sheet, the stocking toys, of course, were only an aperitif, but they had a special and exciting quality of their own. Perhaps it was the atmosphere in which they were opened, the chill, the black window panes, the unfamiliar hour. Perhaps it was the powerful charm of the miniature, of toys, of smallness squared. Perhaps it was the sense of limitation within a strict form, which gives to both the filler and the emptier of a Christmas stocking something of the same enjoyment which is experienced by the writer and the reader of a sonnet. Or perhaps it was merely that the spell of the old legend still persisted, even though for everybody in the room except Toby the legend itself was outworn. There were cross currents of pleasure, too, smiling glances exchanged by her and Vin about the 2 younger children. She remembered suddenly, having been an eldest child, the unsurpassable sense of grandeur that such glances gave one. And by her and Clem, because they were both grown-ups. And by her and Judy, because they were both women. And by her and Toby, because they were both the kind that leaves the glass marble till the end. The room was laced with an invisible network of affectionate understanding. This was one of the moments, thought Mrs. Miniver, which paid off at a single stroke all the accumulations on the debit side of parenthood. The morning sickness and the quite astonishing pain, the pram in the passage, the cold mulish glint in the cook's eye, the holiday nurse who had been in the best families, the pungent white mice, the shriveled caterpillars, the plasticine on the door handles, the face flannels in the bathroom, the nameless horrors down the crevices of armchairs, the alarms and emergencies, the swallowed button, the inexplicable earache, the ominous rash appearing on the eve of a journey, the school bills and the dentist's bills, the shortened step, the tempered pace, the emotional compromises, the divided loyalties, the adventures continually forsworn. And now Vin was eating his tangerine, pig by pig. Judy had undressed the baby doll and was putting on its frock again, back to front. Toby was turning the glass marble round and round against the light, trying to count the squirrels. There were sounds of movement in the house. They were within measurable distance of the blessed chink of early morning tea. Mrs. Miniver looked toward the window. The dark sky had already paled a little in its frame of cherry-pink chintz. Eternity framed in domesticity. Never mind. One had to frame it in something to see it at all.